The heart of every man craves a great adventure, but life doesn't usually feel that way. Jesus speaks of narrow gates and wide roads, but the masculine journey is filled with many twists and turns. So how do we keep from losing heart while trying to find the good way when life feels more like a losing battle than something worth dying for? Grab your gear and come on a quest with your band of brothers who will serve as the guides in what we call the masculine journey. The Masculine Journey starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey Radio today. You probably noticed this is not Robbie or Sam coming to you. I'm pinch hitting. This is Andy. I can't say I'm glad to be here, but I'm sitting
better
pinch hitting
you than me.
Yeah, I hear you. Pinch hitting for the experts. So we'll do what we can, but we have a good show for you. It actually comes from one of the guys that's not here. Sam is out this week, but it actually was part of his, part of when we were talking about healing. He brought it up. Actually, he texted it to us. So just as a thought, I think it is just something he had seen. The quote is, "Change is inevitable. Growth is optional." And it's a pretty powerful statement. I actually, when we're gathering clips today, didn't get mine in, so I'm going to really be dependent on the team that's here with us to, go over their clips and kind of give their heart for this topic. We all talked before the show started that, this is something fairly easy for us to discuss because, we came to the masculine journey for wanting some kind of change to happen in our life. That's the way God does it. He brings you deeper in with him, and usually there's going to be change in that. Not that that's the sole purpose of the relationship with God, but that's always part of it. We all need to be changed. So we got Jim with us today, Brian and Corey. So I guess we'll just get it started. Jim, you want
to start with Despicable Me?
Yeah, Despicable You. That's right.
That's our first clip, and that was a little bit of a change for me because I'm not much of a cartoon movie fan, but this was one of the first ones I really fell in love with. And this is about the change that occurred in the really awful guy meeting his 3 little kittens.
Okay, girls, time for bed.
Oh, come on, we want a story. 3 sleepy kittens.
Oh, no, sorry, that book was accidentally destroyed maliciously. Tonight, we are going to read a new book. This one is called One Big Unicorn. By who wrote this? Oh, me! I wrote it. Oh, look, it's a puppet book. Here, watch this. That's the one.
This is gonna be the best book ever.
Not to pat myself on the back, but yes, it probably will be. Here we go. One big unicorn, strong and free, thought he was happy as he could be. Then 3 little kittens came around and turned his whole life upside down.
Hey, that one looks like me.
No, what are you talking about? These are kittens. Any relation to persons living or dead is completely coincidental. They made him laugh. Ha ha! They made him cry. He never should have said goodbye. And now he knows he could never part from those 3 little kittens that changed his heart. The end. Okay, all right. Good night.
And we have kissies there. One of the wonderful things about this, and it really shows us one of the greatest ways of bringing about change, is people and relationships. And he was an awful guy that basically had his whole life turned around by the 3 little girls in that clip. And for the laughter that you missed, he was actually sticking his nose through a hole in the book, which looked like the unicorn's horn on the front of the cover. But it's a lovely movie. Hate I spoiled it for you if you haven't seen it. But
it's a little dated, so it's okay.
They probably see it. Yeah. So am I.
So, Brian, do you have any examples of where there was times when you didn't really feel like you were really needed change? You were good, but then something crazy like that comes along, like Three Little Kittens.
Yeah. So, this clip kind of reminds me of my life probably 10 years ago almost, when I had a 3-year-old that came into my life along with my wife. It was a time in my life where I was really looking for somebody, but, I wasn't looking for necessarily 2 people. I was looking for one. So, that little boy changed my life. That woman changed my life. It really took me a long time to recognize that change and, get over what people may think of me, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if my wife were listening now, she would probably tell you it took a lot longer than, I'm still finding healing in some of that.
Right,
but,
right.
The change was, at that point, I knew that I was in love with the woman and in love with the 3-year-old.
Right.
So for me, that was the time in my life that change became real.
Gotcha. Yeah. What about you, Corey? I think you said that you had some unexpected change come into your life and the way it all came about.
Well, yeah, and I just harken back to our conversation before the show, but, there really is good and bad change. And before the boot camp, since I've been a teenager, my life has just been full of a lot of shallow change, changing the way I dress, changing the way I act, changing the group of friends. And when I got into adulthood, it started to get into really negative changes, especially with the way I acted and treated people, the way I treated women, the way I treated, my friends. And I was just always all about me, and I would always change myself. I like to call myself, before all this, I was a king chameleon. I mean, I just, could just blend in with whatever situation I was in. And I was always searching for acceptance. I was always searching for fulfillment in something. And I thought every little change I made, if I tweaked the way I dressed, if I tweaked the way I talked, if I tweaked my friends, the people I was hanging out with, that it would fulfill that just emptiness inside of me. And I always wondered, like, why can I never just be happy? Why can I never just feel fulfilled? Why can I never just be me? And I really lost who I am in all that. And it took me going to a boot camp to really start, because I'm still figuring it out. I'm still searching for it. But to start at least finding who I truly am and who I truly want to be, the man I want to be in this life. And if you've been listening, I'm nowhere close to where I want to be, but I can tell you it's been an amazing journey so far, and I'm really excited to see where God's taken me. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with you too. I was always wanting to try to fix everything, trying to do it with my own strength, and it never seemed to work. So, you kind of, I think it was a kind of a surprise on how I got into Masculine Journey and how I began to picture how change would happen. It came much more from the heart than all of my effort. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next clip so we can get it in before the break. Jim, this is another one of your clips on, I'll let you set it up.
This is from The Patriot. It's toward the end of the movie when Cornwallis is surrendering. And the biggest part of this change, but everyone in this movie has had major changes because it's a war, and that brings it about. The hero lost his son, and he was trying to stay out of the war, but ended up diving into it. And you go through all of the different things, and we're hearing the letter he's sending his wife, and we're also hearing the characters as they are ending that part of their journey.
Okay, girls, time for bed.
Oh, come on, you want...
Or we could listen to a bedtime story.
There we go.
Dear Charlotte, the war has turned. General Cornwallis took flight with his army and moved north. We continued to engage the British, and in the months that followed, Cornwallis entrenched himself at Yorktown, Virginia. George Washington escaped from the north undetected and surrounded Cornwallis, who could not retreat to the seas. It was blocked off by our long-lost friends, who had finally arrived. Vive la France.
Vive la liberté.
My lord, I beseech you. You must order the surrender.
How could it come to this? An army of rabble. Peasants. Everything will change. Everything has changed.
Though he eventually surrendered, Cornwallis himself hid in shame, appointing his subordinate to relinquish his sword. With the war ending and our militia disbanding, I take measure of what we have lost.
And what they had gained. It's change is inevitable. We've already established that. But this shows you the reaction both ways. I mean, and I can't remember the character's name, but he was a fictitious, I think maybe loosely based on Francis Marion. Right. But he was a reluctant hero in the War for Independence. And Cornwallis was a professional soldier. This was what he did, and he was good at it. And, you know, the rabble did not fight the way they were supposed to. And when he lost to that, everything had changed. And yes, the British Empire was going down, and the United States was beginning. And now, you know, we're at a point where that may change. We're not the top of the heap anymore.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was really cool in that movie, or just to see the difference. You know, this is our story in the fact that we look like we were losing. We look like we were defeated by Satan, and then enters the France, Jesus. I wouldn't always compare France to Jesus, but they come in on the story, and we get the victory. And, you know, it's powerful what that story represents. Just wanted to remind you of the boot camp coming up March 21st through the 24th. Really wanted to come and you guys to come and just see what God's going to actually do in your life and all the changes that He can bring as you come in and take part in the boot camp.
Hi, this is Sam with Masculine Journey. I'm here with my son Eli. We're going to talk about ways that you can help support the ministry. One way, you can go to smile.amazon.com. There's information on our website there on how to do that.
Then you can go to facebook.com where you can click the donate button, or you can go to masculinejourneyradio.org. Once again, look for the donate button.
Or if you want to mail something in, mail it to P.O. Box 550, Kernersville, North Carolina, 27285.
What God does at Masculine Journey Radio Boot Camp.
When I first got here, I was kind of closed off. Didn't really want to talk to anybody because I thought it was stupid. I didn't believe. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like each person who spoke kind of chipped away at this feeling I was having and chipped away at this mask I was hiding behind. I've never heard anybody speak about God and Jesus and the way we're supposed to feel like you guys have this weekend.
What a gift. $199 Masculine Journey Radio Boot Camp. Go to masculinejourneyradio.org.
Changes, turn and face the strain. Changes, don't wanna be a richer man. Changes, turn and face the strain. Changes, there's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Welcome back to the Masculine Journey, talking about change, and not just change, but growth. I think that's important. That, you know, I think we've kind of alluded to it earlier, but, you know, just change in people's lives doesn't always bring growth. You know, an excess of abundance can cause you to be more selfish. Really being beat down in life can cause you to lose your faith in God and people and other things. So that's obviously change that's coming to people's lives. It's what you do with it. And I think that's the big part of what Sam wanted to do. And it's really part of the healing process too, I think, is the change that we're allowing the Father and Jesus to come in and heal and to change from where we're at to where we actually look to him to make that change in us, to improve our situation, but more importantly, not just our situation, but us, improve us. And I feel like if there's anything that I could say about it, being involved in the masculine journey and boot camps, is that I look at things differently, and I was notorious in the past for trying to change myself. And I would think that I wasn't doing it, and I was trying to live up to this idea of what it looked like. But I was always trying to do it in my strength because I really didn't know any better. I really hadn't been fathered by God. So, that's what we really want people to come to the boot camp to hear about, is just really not another thing of how you can be a better this or that, but really to allow God to come into your life, be your Father, and change you in the way that you were intended and created to be changed. So, wanted to go on to the next clip. Brian, I'll let you set that up. Oops, once again I called on Brian and he didn't have the mic. But
our next clip is Antwone Fisher. It's a really good movie. I encourage you to go see it. It's about a sailor, Antwone Fisher, who he's known for his violent outbursts, getting into fights, a lot of the same. He's actually sent to a naval psychiatrist, Denzel Washington. So you'll hear in the clip here in a little bit that. But really what this psychiatrist did, he pushes him to go find his family. He finally opens up about his horrific childhood. And you'll hear Denzel pushing him to actually go find healing by talking to his family or going to get some closure there. So this last clip, what you're going to see is Denzel. What's really cool is Denzel helped Antwone, but Antwone also helped Denzel find some healing in his marriage as well. So it's really cool to see.
How you doing, sir?
I'm great, sir.
Good. Very good to see you. So?
I took your advice. I found my family and I found my mother.
Good.
Yeah.
So?
In my heart I forgive her, but if I never saw her again.
I understand.
It's funny to feel that way about your mother. But I did it. And I owe it to you to tell you that you were right.
You owe it to me?
Yes, sir. I needed to find her.
I was right. It was for all the wrong reasons.
Sir?
It stays between you and me, okay?
Yes, sir.
My wife and I, we were going to have a bunch of kids, and we found out we couldn't have any. And it rocked her to the core. I knew what to do for her, though. She needed help, treatment. I made sure she had it. The best psychiatrist, the one to train me. But I, the well one, the strong one, at the same time, I went about the business of shutting down. Very subtle, very quiet. It was my little secret. Until one day, a young man came into my office and into my life, and he blew up that little secret right in my face, and he put me to shame in a way I never thought possible. Because of you, Antwone, I'm a better doctor, and I'm learning to be a better husband. You don't owe me anything. I owe you. You're the champ, son. You've beaten everybody who was beating you. I salute you.
So, Corey, you were saying earlier that this really made an impact to you.
Yeah, definitely. Not in the kind of the same way, but really helping me find something unexpected, kind of like Antwone. So, going back to the boot camp. I think if you were to break it down to the biggest difference in me between pre-boot camp and after boot camp, besides obviously the fact of being saved and accepting, Jesus, is I made a decision on my way out of boot camp to make two fundamental changes in my life. And first one being that I was going to give this my best shot. It wasn't going to be a 2-week thing and, kick the can down the road. I actually was, that was the first time in my life God had really spoken to me, was at the boot camp. And I just yearned for it, and I just wanted to cling to that. And the second was that I was going to stop seeking my affirmations in other people. You guys helped show me at the boot camp that God is the only love I truly need. So I decided on my way home from boot camp, as I'm driving in my truck, that those are the 2 changes I was going to make. And I literally just started praying on every single decision that I made. And I decided I didn't want to, go out and drink every weekend. I didn't want to, try and hook up with every single girl I possibly could all the time. I didn't want to I didn't want to be that person anymore. So I literally took this little apartment up in Ararat, Virginia, which is in the middle of nowhere, if you don't know where it's at.
Went to the mountains like Jesus to pray, right?
Absolutely. But, my mom's up there. And I had done some things in my past that I'm really not proud of, and I have really cut that whole relationship off with her. Seeking love and affection from other people that surrounded me, it really pushed her out, some of the things I did. And, there was a time where we didn't really speak for almost a year. And taking that back up there and, just really the decisions I made, it really pushed me to her, the one person that loves me unconditionally on this earth, no matter what I do, would always have my back in everything, that I completely turned my back on seeking love from others. This whole journey, in this short amount of time I've been on it, has really brought, and this beautiful relationship is blossoming, and I can't be more thankful for it. We've never been closer, and it's just been the best change I've ever made in my life. And I'm so thankful for the boot camp, and I'm so thankful for you guys every week. So,
well, to your point too, when people are brought to that point of Christ and the decision, and you saw real men giving their examples of life, but not everybody receives it. Not everybody. It doesn't always fall on good ground like it did you, and it's testimony to us, I think, that did happen with you, and that that the positive change. It could have been a negative. Sometimes people get bitter after something like that, and they're like, I don't believe this. And you said those thoughts went through your mind. I'm not sure if I believe that, but you chose the right way. So.
Absolutely. I mean, and the enemy's always going to mess with your head. I still have to ground myself, and I'm only human, and have to, you have to humble yourself and go to God every single day and make sure you're regrounded and stay on that path.
Yeah.
What I heard there was coming full circle back to the beginning of the show. Number one change in your life was relationship with God. And you got rid of negative relationships. You got away from that, but you got back together in a good relationship with your mother. So, and all those were choices. Now, we're gonna change. If you're a hermit and have no contact with anybody, you're changing. Right. It's likely for the worst, but those are the things that we need to focus on, is steering at least a little bit the changes that are taking place in our life and taking them to God. So the changes He wants in us.
Absolutely. I mean, when I really got serious with God, I took a lot of stuff to Him, but there was over time I let that go to where I started taking it back on me. I felt like abandoned at times. As much as I love God, I didn't always have the right way to relate to God and stuff. But what Corey was saying there was I take everything, all my questions to God. I pray about it before I just go do it. Well, I got in a pattern where, I prayed about 10% and the rest was mine, and that's where we get in trouble. But Brian, back on the movie, you were talking about too the downstream effects of change and how it affects one person, and where the tables were almost turned, with the effect of the change.
Yeah, so Denzel was, he didn't give up on Antoine. That was the critical thing. He could have written him off. He could have, just said, this is just another kid in the Navy that, he's not worth anything. He could have written him off, but he stuck with him and he pushed him. And, the influence that other people have in our lives makes a huge difference.
Right.
I can think of Sam directly. If he wouldn't have pushed me in certain cases where, I wasn't even ready to listen, or, whatever the case may be, I wouldn't be here today, and I certainly wouldn't have the relationship with Christ that I do today. So I do think God puts us in a position that we might not even recognize.
Right.
And he's wanting that change, and he wants us to accept it like Corey did.
Yep. And like Denzel, too, the effects are, Denzel thought he was good. Yep. He had stopped changing, really. He thought he was good, and then he saw this other kid making all these changes, these positive changes based on his, counsel to him, and then he realizes he needs to get his life in order and makes changes himself, and that's the way the body's supposed to work in community. If we're supposed to see the changes in the others and how it affects each one of us, and that's how we improve, and that's why we like the boot camp so much. We do this life together as far as the boot camps, but we're not a closed society. We do these boot camps for others, and they come in, and hopefully, they change as well. So,
yeah, and I think one more thing to add on to Brian's point is, and I experienced this some in my life. I'm going through it right now, but if you feel like you're going to give up on somebody that you love or somebody that you're close to, and you think it's just impossible and that they'll never change and they'll never be able to find the light, just like he said, just don't give up on them, because I'm here as living proof that if anybody can be saved, I'm telling you, if I can be saved, anybody can be saved, because I was, just so lost and didn't want to be found. So
when you are in that position, and I've been corrected by Jesus this week on 2 different groups not to give up on people, and they will change, but we're supposed to be in a position of being a catalyst that God uses for that change.
Amen. And we're not giving up on each other or you. So we want to see you at the boot camp, March 21st through the 24th. Listen again on masculinejourneyradio.org. Have a good day.